Mongochatter number 16 right here. Damn Roy. Is that amp new?
Yep, $40, two days old.
2 days old?
Yep.
Like new to you?
New to me, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I bought a shitty guitar and the guy showed me how to play he showed me the shitty guitar work using this shitty amp, and so I offered him $40 for the amp.
Man, you think he was pumped?
I don't know what was going on in this guy's head. He actually tried to show me that he was taking singing lessons, so he did a little karaoke in his garage for me with no back music. He was just showing me how his vocal range was.
What song?
He said that his warm up was Bohemian Rhapsody. He said if I could sing like that, then I know I'm ready for my stuff.
That's the warm up.
He took himself pretty seriously.
I guess there's a strategy to that, like you hit the hard shit first.
Yeah.
And you barrel through that.
Well, here, I'll tell you. Just pretend you're the guy buying this guitar. See what you think of it. Just tell me what you've looked at a lot of guitars. This is a bastard, Japanese Canadian bastard.
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I guess I'd be into that. I don't know. So what, you want me to like ask you questions like if I was buying it?
No, just tell me what are the three things you notice about it?
It's heavy. It looks like you put a different neck on here at some point.
Yeah. All Ibanez components.
And what else do I notice? These are nice, like
yeah, little nostalgic knobs.
With the little, what do you call that?
Tone and volume.
No, but like, what's the look? It has like a.
Oh yeah, it's
like
just
it reminds me of like an 8-ball shifter or something. You know what I mean?
Got the 80s patina.
It's a vibe.
Yeah. And then these are the they call these like a. Well, that's a little loose. But this is kind of a mini humbucker style. Some of these used to have caps. They used to put them on the mid 80s Les Pauls.
Right on.
But they have the caps off, which looks cooler. That's what you get for $100.
That's fucking sick, though. I mean, $100. That's better than going to Daddy's Junkie Music, right?
Yeah.
And spending $100.
Yeah, or you spend $159 and get a Chinese-made Squire.
Yeah. And you know, most. I don't know if it's a nice guitar, but it's got soul.
Qualifier is like the base level is I believe that the people that have all the money and all the power, they can make decisions, but they actually don't have like the internal workings to make decisions. They need to be able to see other people doing things. They need to be able to spot trends.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is happening. How do we change into that lane? That lane's moving faster. This is like all the powers that be, that's how they think. They see something moving, attention is there, then they're like, oh, we'll put our attention there too. That lane's moving faster, we'll move into that lane. These people who are popular are saying this thing, we'll say that thing, right?
Yeah.
That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
But if you talk about heart, like if you talk about creativity, if you talk about anything, it doesn't come from the top 1%, it comes from the bottom 1%.
Yeah.
And so Qualifier is a podcast network, not unlike Vice, not unlike Complex, for instance, which started in hip hop but has now gravitated into like all of urban culture, not unlike NPR. You know what I mean? It's really like the power of Qualifier is we get to choose who has the microphone.
Okay. I to be totally honest with you, Ben, I thought it was a band. I thought it was a band that you were involved with, or a musical project that you were.
I call a lot of my musical projects Qualifier.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a separate thing. I do have like 2/3 of an album put together. It's just all songs that were wrenched out of my heart. It's the only album like that I will ever write, which is just almost biographical. I just like family members mentioned and my own own history and this and that. So at some point I'll put that album out, and then I look forward to subsequent albums. I look forward to not having songs that are so close to my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I look forward to having something where I can just start just kind of shape noise and channel emotion and all that. But yeah, the first album for Qualifier, in progress. It's gonna be personal. I have to take a step back from it a little bit. You know, I'm not trying to make like an Indigo Girls album. You know, I have to take a step back emotionally. Have to bring a couple people in.
Okay.
But yeah, I basically have like the workings of a band that's got more of a. They actually come more from thrash metal background.
Sick.
But you know, I'll make sure that it has a little bit more of the sensitivity.
And is it like
I'm just talking about Qualifier as a band right now. Is that what you asked? You asked about the album.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always it's a weird thing because you hate to like speak in music. It kind of cheapens music sometimes to talk about it categorically.
Mm-hmm.
But as like, for example, someone who has done music journalism or whatever, it's like those are the trappings of how you deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I would cliché-ly ask you, like, how would you sonically categorize the sound of Qualifier the band? Like, what does it sound like?
It's more like kind of, if you could think about Birthday Party, but just imagine like a little bit quieter version of that. Birthday Party. Like, I think Pixies did a really good job of being accessible,
Yeah.
but also being transcendent.
Indie rock.
I wouldn't call it indie, no. I really don't think anybody's nailed the Pixies. Nobody's even tried. There's just some bands that are not replicable.
Yeah.
And with that one, between Joey Santiago and Frank Black, I don't think they ever. It was like a very unique pairing. I think it's very, what's the word? Parochial in the sense that it came from Boston. Like, if you don't understand Boston, you don't understand the Pixies. Like, people don't understand how much we fucking hate each other in Boston. They don't understand that, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you had a hard childhood. It's like, not really. It's more like all of our parents were assholes. You know, I mean, it's in the water.
Yeah.
There's something where it's just like, if I don't know you, I don't like you. And if I don't like you, don't talk to me. That's a very Boston thing. There's a lot of energy there with the Pixies.
Is that, is there a comfort there? Like, I never knew that. I mean, everyone knows that about Boston, but it was like, I never knew that. I never felt that so bitterly as, like, for example, like when I went to San Francisco, I was kind of taken aback at how rude people were.
In San Francisco?
Yeah, I was like, damn, man, people are fucking rude here.
That's why people from Boston move to San Francisco so much.
Because they like the aggression.
I was actually skateboarding down the street in San Francisco one time towards Union Square. I'm skating down there, cruising. I got soft wheels, loose trucks. I'm going left, right. I mean, I'm like lost in my mind, right? And this guy with a BMW Z4 like literally swerves at me to try to knock me into the parked cars. And then I'm like, what the fuck? So now my meditation is I'm filled with rage right up to the top of my throat, right? So I get down to the light. He had stopped at the light, and I was just ready to I picked up my board ready to just fucking swing it at his face. I'm like, what the fuck? I couldn't even speak. I was like, what the fuck you doing? He starts calling me all these derogatory things. I'm like, where the fuck are you from? He's like, I'm from fucking Dorchester. I'm like, you came 3,000 miles to almost kill me. You're like the first person to swerve at me, and you're from fucking Boston. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was 1981 or 1982 when I first got a skateboard.
Yeah.
And I was by myself. I was 6 or 7 years old. But pretty much from the time I saw a skateboarder, I was essentially seeing California lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then by the time I saw, like, for instance, by the time I saw Nodus, like, you don't go past Nodus. Once you get the Nodus and Guns, like, you found skateboarding.
Yeah, sure.
And so, you know, and then like Streets of Fire came out, and it's just like, oh, you know, I never even questioned, like, am I a skateboarder or not?
Yeah.
It went in phases a little bit.
Oh, sure.
You know, in just different places. I was at the Grind in Sacramento for a long time with like Wade Spire and Bob Burnquist and those guys. you know, I was at Maximus for a long time with all that fucking crew. It was insane, you know. Just a park run by 19-year-olds and everybody's drunk all the time, no pads. Like, you weren't allowed to wear pads on that vert ramp. It was the only thing, let's be fair, it was only like a 9.5-foot vert ramp, but still, it's like, it was horrendous. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, I could never imagine a better childhood than ZT Maximus in Boston. But yeah, this is different scenes at different times. The thing about snowboarding, when I got into that, is like, you can do stuff on a snowboard that would be the equivalent of ollieing like 200 stairs. Like, you're never gonna ollie 200 stairs.
Yeah.
But on a snowboard, you can do it, you know, 10 times a day.
Yeah.
Or like, you're probably not gonna bomb the biggest hill that you've ever seen switch, but you can do it on a snowboard. And so it's little things like that. It's like, oh, all of a sudden I used to be as scared of doing a frontside 180 because you land backwards. Now it's no, I can go 40 miles an hour backwards and not think about it, you know?
Did that translate to your skating? Like, were you like, oh fuck, dude, I've gone off cliffs, like, why not ollie the street?
Pretty much. At some point, Cardio quit snowboarding, not because he didn't like snow, it's because he didn't like snowboarders.
Yeah.
And that's legitimate.
That makes
Snowboarders
sense
are,
to me.
you know, they're just a bunch of kids in the mountains. Yeah. I'm not gonna say they're good people or bad people, they're just live there back in the mountains. They like to play.
Yeah.
Snowboarding's a lot more playful. Skateboarding's a lot more serious.
Yeah. It can be like war. And, you know,
it can be like war, it can be more like an ideology, it's much more well informed, it has a fashion component, it's closer to the city, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Plus it's unrelenting, you know? Yeah. Snowboarding is like, even if you fall down and it's freshly groomed, you're still, your elbow can go like two inches into the snow. But concrete, you can't even go 2 centimeters into the concrete. Like, you're gonna get instantaneous knowledge if you made a mistake, you know?
I was also thinking, like, when you said unrelenting, it's like, skating is like all permeating. Like, we're gonna be sitting here probably in the next 10-15 minutes, we're gonna hear someone cruise by, you know what I mean? It's like, you can't get away from it. Whereas like snowboarding is such like a thing that you need access to. Like, you have to go to this place to do it.
Yeah. With and that actually became a thing too. Like, when I was competitive in snowboarding, there was a real gap between guys who would spend like 250 days on the snow every year and guys like me who would spend like 125 days a year.
Yeah.
I mean, 125 days is a lot of time, but that's still half time compared to the guys who are doing it.
Yeah.
And then you had guys like, you know, I grew up with, like, I watched Shaun White develop. You know, I've been riding with Shaun White since he was 9 years old. And, you know, and Scotty Whitlake and Blaze Rosenthal and all the Type A crew, like, that was my little crew. I've seen it all develop, but when it comes to Shaun White, like, he was the first person to have a helmet. Nobody had helmets before that. He's
snowboarding.
Yeah, he's the first person to put a bandana on so you actually protect your face from the sun. He was the first person to have, like, where they took a half pipe, then bisected the half pipe, so the whole bottom half is just like huge crash pads. Like, you literally can't get hurt, and that's how he learned his tricks into a crash pad. It would be the equivalent in skateboarding as if you took like a 12-stair handrail, but it goes into a McDonald's ball pit.
Yeah.
This is a change. That's a generational change, you know.
Yeah, it is.
So obviously I didn't grow up with that stuff.
Yeah. I feel like though there was a point where it was like, I remember, like, you know, through skating, having friends that were into snowboarding, and it was like we'd be like lucky enough to go to like someone's like cabin for the weekend, and we meet these dudes probably that you're more talking about, like the 250 days dudes, you know, that were like lived there, worked on the mountain, whatever. They seemed gnarly. They didn't seem soft or bourgeoisie to me. They seemed almost kind of, maybe they were just older and drank beer.
It's not even their fault. It's not even their fault. It's like wakeboarders. I don't even know a wakeboarder.
Yeah.
But the point is, I don't know anybody who ever owned a boat because it gets into a class thing. Mm-hmm. And snowboarding is the same thing. Like, if you even have access to a mountain, or like your family has a concept of vacations, you're already in a different social rank.
But there was an unruly quality to it because it was kind of like in opposition to the normal ski culture. It was like, you know what I mean?
I mean, the thing is,
its own bubble.
And I consider this a gift that I started skateboarding when I was 7.
Yeah.
I'm glad that when I even got to touch a snowboard, it was more like, oh, here's like a cheat code for a video game, or here's like a dream state, you know?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I take this seriously. Like, I never identified as a snowboarder. I'm a skateboarder.
Yeah.
I still don't identify as anything but a skateboarder.
Sure.
Because what the fuck identity is there, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But snowboarding kind of took you far in a way.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a way, like, I mean, skateboarding now is a great example. Like, it's become like juggling 6 balls. Can you juggle 6 balls? You know, do you have the mental capacity to keep 6 balls in the air? Like, technically, that's what skateboarding has come to.
What do you mean by, you mean like just combinations?
Yeah, combinations, getting in, getting out, this and that. This is where this fits in. This is how you flip out of that rail trick, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that I didn't have that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, for like a great example is Shackle Me Not came out. H-Street Shackle Me Not.
Yeah.
And I'm every day like trying to learn a trick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm like 10% of the way through the video trying to learn these tricks, and then the next video comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already behind the curve. If you're talking about the best and the best, I was already behind the curve by 92, you know?
Oh, yeah. No,
and
totally.
so I recognize that. Whereas in snowboarding, because the sport was still in its infancy, and because I was essentially fearless.
You were already skating. Yeah.
Well, no, but it was more like my brother and my dad, and we would just be jumping off bridges all the time. So like I already knew what it felt like to fly through the air for 40, 50 feet. And so when it came to snowboarding, people were like, oh shit, that's huge. I'm like, fuck it, go, boom. You know, 2 seconds, I don't think, you know?
Damn.
And so my skill set applied better to snowboarding. That's all. It was never an identity.
Yeah. No, that's rad though. I mean, something, you know, I guess I'd like to do more of it. The only standardized thing about Mongochatter is that I always ask the people if there's anything that they want to say to myself or the world or themselves. It's a heavy question.
That's kind of more the end question, right?
Yeah, well, it can spark another 40 minutes. You never know what the fuck someone's gonna say.
That's 3 questions, right?
It's however you interpret that statement to be, you know? If you want to answer it in 3 succinct ways.
Straight to the throat. Okay, the first one is how something I want to tell you or the world or myself.
Yeah, anything you want to say, basically. What do you want to say?
That really definitely opens it up.
Yeah.
What kind of responses do you get from skateboarders? I will tell you the biggest myth in skateboarding
Yes.
is 3 letters. F-U-N.
I love this. Go on.
Well, you know how you walk into a mall in Orange County and the girl's like, I just like, I don't know, like, if the vibe's right, like, and the energy's like, right, and if you actually recorded what she said and then wrote it down, out of a 50-word paragraph, 17 words would be the word like.
Sure.
Well, apply it to skateboarding. You take a 13-year-old boy, oh, it's fun, it's just fun. I do this for fun, I do that for fun, this and that. That's bullshit. It's like a useless word. Honestly, nobody who rides a skateboard for any length of time beyond 18 months does it for fun. It's something else.
Yeah.
So what's that other thing?
Whoa,
what's that other thing?
What is it?
That's different for different people, but it's not fucking fun.
Yeah, yeah. What is it for you? Why do you skate? Why did you battle that barrier?
100% family, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't even make a choice.
Yeah.
It was just, I had no family. I chose this family. I never looked back.
Awesome. That's sick.
Well, I mean, it's just Lord of the Flies. There's no parents involved, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we're all broken toys.
Yeah.
If you any legitimate skateboarder, there's probably 1 out of 10 who comes from a home where both parents are together. So it's literally the breakdown of the traditional family that requires a secondary family, which becomes the macro family, which is skateboarding.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to say to the world of skateboarding. You know who you are. You know why you're doing it. It's not for fun.
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah.
What would I like to say to myself? Man, what I would like to say to myself is like, it's easy. You mentioned this before. It's easy to feel like you're selfish if you're skateboarding, because you might think about, oh, I need a piece of pizza. It's on your slots. Maybe I need a slice of pizza right now. Maybe I need a Coke. Maybe I need a joint. Whatever. You think about like what you need to get in the right mental framework to be where you need to be, and that could be anywhere. It could be like, I'm under a bridge. It's raining a little bit. I'm fucking tired of doing nose manuals, but I can't go outside because it's raining. It could be anything. But you have to like, you as a skateboarder, you used to like like making things fit into your little worldview, you know. And that's one of the reasons that we appreciate skateboarders who can adapt so well to different types of terrain, because ultimately what it is to be a skateboarder is to be an adaptive creature.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're coming into a world that other people built for a different reason usually. It was city planners and architects and whatever else. Oh, I like the shiny chrome handrail versus the brown fucking wood handrail, whatever. So they pick that, then we adapt to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So what do I want to say to myself? Here's what I want to say to myself is like, even though it's very easy to go down this like spiral of like, what do I need to think? What do I need to feel? What do I need to get through the day? It's easy to do that as a skateboarder, but realizing that we're all in that whirlpool, I want to be conscious of like, what does everybody need? You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if a kid is working on kickflip back Smiths or whether he's working on ollie in a Coke can. The point is, it's a fucking human being. What does that human being need right now?
Yeah.
Like being present in my own mind, in my own body, in a physical space, with the person I'm with. What do they need? Like, that's what family is, right? You're not going to keep working on a kickflip for somebody in your family's hurting. So I think it's just mercy. Like, how is mercy applied? I don't want any more skateboarders dying from anything. I don't want them getting drunk and falling into a pool. I don't want them getting hit by a car. I don't want them getting on hills. I don't want them feeling like they're lonely and then like dying in a room somewhere. Like, I don't want any skateboarder dying. And there's like the obvious death, which is when we leave, when we translate from like the world to the next world. But there's also these like mini deaths. I don't even want a skateboarder to ever feel alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's what I say to myself, is just how to be present, how to be a better brother to my brothers and my sisters who ride skateboards. It's a family, you know.
Yeah. It's important to keep in mind that we're actually all
we're all the same
crew.
thing, yeah. Or like it's as simple as like you put a NorCal crew together with a SoCal crew, and guess what? It's totally different worlds.
Yeah.
SoCal is going to be, okay, let's set up the barrier and start flip tricks, you know?
Yeah.
And the NorCal crew is going to be like, oh, like, how do my bearings sound this morning? Maybe I'll adjust this, or like, oh, let me just finish my cappuccino and just like, you know, how's my, just like they're 100% in their head or their mood or whatever. You know what I mean? Because they're thinking about hanging out at Union Square and like, I'm only going to do 3 tricks today, but what time am I going to do them at 10 in the morning or like 10 at night? They don't even know. They're waiting for the freaking vibe to be right. Yeah. Whereas SoCal, it's just like, boom, turn on the music, time to fucking perform, you know?
Damn.
And I'm not even like pointing fingers at people, but it's just like, even in one state, you can't, there's no alignment, you know? It's like it's just different for different folks, you know?
I used to, well, I don't care anymore, and like maybe as I got friends that were more my age that I skated with, like in my 30s.
Oh yeah, we're survivors, man. We're artifacts.
Well, it's like I would get irritated at the old guys. Being another old guy, like I'd be skating and these guys are just talking and drinking their coffee and fucking hanging out, and I'm like, I didn't come to the skate park to socialize. But then as the Collision Curb Club thing got going in Seattle and I was hanging out with other fucking 40-year-old dudes drinking coffee, I was like, oh, I get it. This is my crew.
Yeah. But the bad attitudes, there's no room for it.
Yeah.
I understand it a little bit. Like SF is pretty much, I mean, SF might as well be like the Pentagon for skateboarding.
Yeah.
They're gonna make the rules.
Yeah.
They're gonna defend skateboarding.
Are there rules?
Absolutely. But in San Francisco, the answer is yes.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not even, I mean, you can go down.
Can people say that? Or isn't it a rule that you're supposed to say that there's no rules? That's kind of a rule, right?
No. San Francisco, there's rules. Like, you're not literally even allowed in the skateboard park. Or I would say the same thing would be true for like Burnside.
Yeah.
If you try to walk into Burnside without holding a skateboard, they will say get out of
Oh yeah, that's sick. I'm with that.
This is the same thing, but you go to Potrero and
that's a rule for non-skaters.
You go into Potrero in San Francisco, you can have a skateboard, but if you have pads on, you have to take the pads off. 100%. They you know, and that was the request from Jake. He wants to see blood on the ground. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah. First time I went there was with you, wasted, after a Shakin' Michael J show.
Yeah.
And I remember that it's funny because it's like, well, it's night and day. I remember just like the hips being so abrupt, and I like rolled in, and then came up to the hip and was like, just fucking shot up in the air, and I was drunk, and it was nighttime. But you know, then when I was chilling with Andrew when he was on Kansas Street or whatever, he was like right up the street from there.
Petro.
So I got to skate there a little bit more, and it was like, I can't believe that we went in there at night and just were trying to ride it. Like,
Yeah.
it's a pretty heavy park.
Yeah.
You know?
First day they opened it, they had like 6 broken bones. Unfortunately, like, you know, literally the next building over is San Francisco General Hospital, which is not an accident.
Yeah.
And for a while they had like citywide insurance. You get anything that happened inside San Francisco, they pay for it for free. So.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
No way. That's why it's the skateboarding mecca, dude.
Right, so I answered the question about what for the world. I answered that like basically for the world of skateboarding.
Yep.
And then I answered it for myself about mercy. And then what was the third part of the question?
I guess me.
Oh, what would I tell you?
Yeah.
Well, here's one way you could think about it. Like, you can't put too much weight on skateboarding, you know, because skateboarding is all about being light on your feet, right?
Yeah.
What do we notice when someone's light on their feet? It's immediately we like recognize, okay, they understand balance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why a skateboarder like Kenny Anderson is a good example of a person with balance. You know, he's never gonna like battle. There's no freaking hammers in Kenny Anderson's world. You know, like the difference between Kenny Anderson and Jim Greco is obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So let's talk about being light on your feet. You have to remain light on your feet, right? You have to have balance. But at the same time, you're subjecting yourself to violence. So it's like this crazy world in between. And I think just recognizing that without putting too much weight on you as sort of a, you know, I would put you like in a, you know, you're one of a very few who are like college educated, professional rider, still ride a skateboard, still take skateboarding seriously, absolutely still take skateboarders seriously. But I think there's a way to honor skateboarders without deifying the skateboarder. You know what I mean? Because
Sure.
skateboarders are not gods. They're
Yeah.
not gods.
Yeah.
Are we like wildly more creative than other cultures? Yes. Like are we like by necessity do we adapt? Well, yes. Like are we super tapped in like to the pulse of culture? Yes. That's because we live in cities.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally just proximity to other things, like writers, like artists, like architects.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
We're close to it, and so
Yeah.
we know how to channel it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why skateboarding, like even among skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding, people connect those three things. But the truth is, there's only skateboarding.
So
Because
true.
surfers are fucking retards that hang out at the beach,
Yeah.
and snowboarders are retards that hang out in the mountains.
Yeah.
Like the skateboarders are the only ones who, and it's not by their own doing, but they're the only ones who are in like a center of everybody's thinking, everybody's driving, everybody's working together.
Yeah. The music, the food.
Yeah, even the culture,
Yeah.
like how do you fit 2 million people in 10 square miles and make that work?
Yeah.
Like there's just that skateboarders understand that.
Yeah.
Surfers and snowboarders don't. It's not their fault. They just grew up in the wrong place.
Sure.
But all that to say, so I talked about like the balance and being like how to take care of skateboarders. So we're not calling skateboarders gods, but at the same time, like it's about validating the child. At your age, at my age, what we're talking about when we're talking about skateboarders is children.
Yeah.
So now it gets into, okay, who are we as role models? And there's some implications there. There really is, you know? A good example is like Flip Skateboards. If their motto is hate, kill, destroy, well, guess what? There's going to be some carnage involved.
Yeah.
And that's not a big deal if you're 25, you're partying like a rock star, you're fucking like a rock star. It is a big deal if you're 12 and maybe you die.
Yeah.
There's implications.
Yeah.
I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just saying. If you're over the age of 20 and you're a skateboarder, you're a role model, period.
Damn. Yeah. I think it's like most people don't think about it like that because it's like such an individual thing where you're like in your own world and you're like, you know, like time would go by and you look behind you and you go, damn, I'm a role model? Like, what are you talking about? I've just been skating, you know what I mean? But I think you're right. It's like, I never thought about it like that. Like,
Yeah. No, there's a myth of neutrality in general, that you can be neutral, and you can't be neutral. Skateboarders love to think they're neutral.
yeah.
And what do they love to do? Love to grab a little beer, have a little paper bag, pull their hood over their head, nobody sees them. Like, all they care about is that one little block, that one little piece of marble, whatever.
Yeah.
That little curb cut, that little launch pad, that little sign, whatever it is, little transition.
Yeah.
That's where they're thinking. They want to be off. They want to be off the fucking radar. But guess what? If we're breathing, we're all on the radar.
So
We're all accountable for every breath we take.
So I've had like barroom conversations like this, and it's like a, I don't know. I guess I know how I feel about it as a human, as a skater. It's like a chicken and the egg thing. I don't really know. If you have that spot, and it's in front of someone's like house, and they're ill. You know what I mean? Is it inherently wrong to skate that spot? Like,
I would say, you're talking about someone's house?
yeah.
Fuck yeah, I think it's, if it's the person's
But if
property.
it's like the city, it's like.
no, if it's the city, fucking
But it's a part of the city. Like if it's like an apartment block in San Francisco and there's like a ledge and it's like there's someone who's like they're sick in bed and there's fucking down below it's like this click clack and
No.
you're like, dude, we're skating.
Move out of the city if you don't like the sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm 100%. I'm super liberal, but if it gets down to personal property, someone spent most of their life and energy working to build this one little thing,
Yeah.
don't go to their house and do their thing.
Yeah.
But that's pretty random.
Yeah.
If it's a church, I say skate all churches. You know why? Because church is like, a church is in every city in America, and so is a bar, and so is a jail. You know, that's all it is. That's how you make a town, right?
Yeah.
And so the churches are just franchises. People give a certain amount of money. The church uses that money to pay for the building. Doesn't even belong to the church. Doesn't belong to anybody. Nothing belongs to anybody. It's like if someone's house. But how many skaters get in trouble for skating someone's house?
Right. Yeah. No,
Doesn't happen. Really, I mean, back in the 70s with the empty pool, maybe.
dude, I'll look around though in Newburyport and see like someone's like someone's porch and there'll be like a gap into the driveway with like a bush and I'm like, damn, you know, you could just park real quick and fucking just get it done. They were building this house.
Of course, but even a gap's not gonna hurt anything.
Yeah.
It's a freaking crooked grind that's gonna hurt something.
Yeah. Well, but people are like, they're not gonna discern between what trick you're doing and how destructive it is. They're just like, you're in my bubble.
See no evil, hear no evil.
Yeah.
Just get in, get out.
Well, that's, you know, that's kind of best case scenario.
Yeah.
You know, but
But I really like adapting. I was fortunate enough to travel with my father to Europe for 2-3 months at a time. 3 different times during my teenage years. And just getting to, show up in Paris, show up in Stockholm, show up in Lisbon, show up in Barcelona, and make it what it is, and just literally you're basically writing a concert, because it's like someone will never hear it, but you're put it in your mind. You're the one that gets to interpret that city, and nobody else will ever be there and do it the same way. That's what makes a skateboarder, man.
So, when you were saying earlier, you were one of the first in your Newburyport area.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anyone that you were looking up to? Like,
I think I saw a photo somewhere. I think there was a guy. I don't know if I'm mixing up the timelines, but there was a guy. And he now owns Pioneers.
oh, Steve O'Hara.
Steve O'Hara.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in the game at that point. He was 100% skate, 100% surf.
Yep.
And he had the board shop in Hampton Beach.
Yep.
I even tattooed, when I was 16, I got this drunk trucker to tattoo the logo on my side. It said Surf Skates Now. But it was the board shop. He was the first person to put any money into skateboarding for this time. But it might have just been like an advertisement. Because like I said, it was 1981. Christmas was coming up. I asked my mother for a fat skateboard. because this is like this is obviously right after clay wheels, but there was still like
banana boards.
But there was still like the
around.
banana boards was the main thing.
Yeah.
And then the fat board was the new thing.
It'd be like if you ask your mom to get you a skateboard and she gets you like a Sector 9. You're like, I wanted a fucking anti-hero 9-inch shovel.
It was worse. It was worse than that. It was like, I was like, I want this fat skateboard. And then like Christmas morning, I went in and opened up the present of the tree, and it was this little shitty yellow banana board. And like,
Not fat.
definitely not fat. It probably cost her somewhere between $10 and $13.
Yeah.
The wheels barely turned. But
KB Toy Stores.
But I still like rode the thing up and down my sidewalk. That's what I mean. Like 81, nobody else was doing that.
Yeah.
In Newburyport.
Yeah.
I was actually living in Rowley at the time. But then when I came to Newburyport, I got to Newburyport in like 82-ish. And then Dave Becker, who owns a couple restaurants in Boston now, we got together and we started like, I was playing soccer with him, and so he was the second skateboarder I met, and we tried to put some parts together, and then I finally got like what I believed that was everything that goes on a skateboard, and then brought it home to my house and realized I didn't have any tools, and I realized I didn't know which way the trucks went because nobody told me which way the bushings were supposed to point.
Yep.
So and then I was like, again, like in despair for however many days it took me to like find tools and find someone to show me how to put the trucks on.
Dude, I had a board that
This is what it's like growing up without a father. That's like the main thing. Like nobody teaches you how to do anything. I didn't know how to do anything.
I didn't know shit. My friend taught me how to throw a football when I was like 23. Like my friend Austin, who's younger than me.
You missed so much.
He's like, no, you spiral it like this. I was like, oh, okay.
I really think that's why our skateboarders are so pissed off. It really comes back to like we don't have fathers.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of that in like the classic paradigm of like skating. You know, everyone, like you said before, like 1 in 10. You know what I mean? Everyone that I knew had some type of at-home weirdness. You know, whatever it was. Mostly single moms,
or whatever reason it is. You don't want to be in your house. You don't need words for that. You don't need a definition. You don't need an excuse. Just if you don't want to be in your house, then you're a skateboarder.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like the modern thing now, though, is like it's very more compartmentalized. Like it's skateboarding time. Like it's at the skate park. Like, you know. So I don't know if it has the same cultural relevance for kids. Like I don't know if they find. I think it's still there because it's so like potent. But I think that if there's other things in place in their lives when they find skating, like a good family or whatever it is, and they're more into that, maybe they don't plug into skating as hard and make that like the identity.
Yeah.
So, were you playing in bands and stuff like that, or?
We had like a Nirvana slash, whatever, the junk that we were playing. We had like a cover band, and then we just played in the basement.
Yeah.
In high school, but that was only for, I think, last year of high school. And then I left Newburyport when I literally the day I graduated, I left for California. Haven't really played since then, but I'm just getting back into it now.
Yeah, but it's like you really know your shit about the gear and like.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a nerd out, like a skateboarder would,
Yeah.
when it gets into stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot nicer guitars than this. But I still like know what they do.
Yeah, I mean, and you play well. So it's like
I'll probably always be in that kind of I'll always be the rhythm guy. I'm never gonna become a virtuoso when it comes to this instrument.
Okay.
But I like the idea of being able to, like, you and I are both writers, so we understand the value in language and the musicality in language. But I would say that there's something that goes bigger than that, and that's like if you walk into a venue, for instance, and they're sound checking, like you immediately feel this thing. You know, you feel it's like a temperature, or a culture, or a spirit. Like we sense it before we hear it, right? And then the lyrics are secondary. And I think in life that's true as well. Language is like so far down the list of things that are important because what we feel is so much deeper than what we can say or articulate.
Yeah.
Language is always going to break when you try to put weight on it.
And yet it's the only tool that we have to discuss these matters.
But I'm telling you, it's useless. Not useless, but it's like.
No, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying it has a.
It only goes so far, you know. It's the things that we can't say are more powerful than the things that we can.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like because if you think about humans, like we all are going through life in essentially the same way, you know, different environments and stuff. We speak different languages, like we make different noises with our tongues, but we're describing the same environments around us. So it's like, yeah, of course, language is really only scratching the surface of the experience because we're just trying to eke out some way to express what it is that we're going through.
Yeah, or we're not, or we've like literally not. We've only scratched the surface of what it means to be a human being. And so what do? We keep a podcast on, we keep the TV on, we keep a book by the bed. That way we don't have to think. We can just read what other people think.
Yeah.
We don't have to feel. We can just see what other people feel.
Yeah.
Well, you know, most people don't even engage. They literally don't even live their own lives.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying. I try to like hope that, like maybe in the kernel, there's a kernel of somewhere, like maybe someone feels as enthusiastically about the video game that they're playing as I do about skateboarding, and that's their lane, and they're all into that world.
And I love that people in video game world are like connecting to each other now.
Yeah.
You know, some people have found their little tribe.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the pixels and the resolution of 4K, 5K, and this and that.
I do think it's disturbing though. It's like a de-evolutionary, like it's like a sign of like the de-evolution of the human species. Whereas like I'm driving the other day and I'm listening to the radio and they're talking about it's like a news article about video gaming, like gamers, and how parents, like this is the spin on the article. It's like parents used to tell their kids, you know, put the video games down and do your homework. Now they might want to reconsider that because like little Timmy can now make $1 million with endorsements and it's like,
yeah.
So what that signifies to me, and I trip out on, is like where as a society we're putting value on basically sitting and doing nothing. And they're talking about it like oh, this person's like really good at video games. He's a savant. It's like, what? It's like, you're sitting down. Like, I'm not, dude, no disrespect to anyone who is like immobile or anything like that, but it's like, I just think that, yeah, it's hand-eye coordination and stuff, but it's really just like there's different ones and zeros, and you're like...
You can tell a lot about where a child's gonna go based on how much they can articulate at the age of 2. But if you take ages 2 to 10, I think the more the kid can be barefoot, actually touch the ground, and disconnected from any like electrical sound or electrical picture, the better, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Like if you can raise a child to experience the world first, and the earth first, and people first, I mean, by the time they're 10, they're an adult. Like there is no such thing as like everything that comes after 10 nowadays. It's like you can do whatever you want as a 10-year-old. But it's the childhood that you're either giving a child a childhood or you're not. You know, and if you give them a screen, you're not giving them a childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might as well put your child on frickin' Xanax. I'm definitely like anti-technology in general.
Yeah, I feel much the same.
But let me ask you a question about Mongochatter.
All right.
If you were gonna pick the next 3 interviews, who are they and why? And I'm just not. This is like blue sky. You get to pick any skateboarder on the planet. It could even be someone who doesn't skateboard, but that you care about what they think as a skateboarder.
And I gotta do 3.
Yeah, pick top 3. Just say you're gonna do one episode a month. Who's the 3?
It's like, okay, say you could have like a serious conversation with like Mark Gonzalez, you know, and it wouldn't be all whimsical and just like, if it was just like a true heart to heart, you know, that would be rad. I wouldn't want a guarded whimsicality and aloofness, you know what I mean? Anyone that's like actually willing to get like very real.
Mark's gonna show up. He's gonna show up. He's not gonna give you something halfway.
No. I just mean like, that's like, there's like this allure about certain personalities, like a cult of personality,
Sure.
and it's like you don't want that. You
Right.
want.
Yeah,
I want to be the Charlie Rose of skateboarding.
Okay, you want
You know?
someone who's gonna like show up and be vulnerable.
Yeah, or just if they are vulnerable, you know. So I don't know. I guess that's an obvious one that like anyone would say.
No,
But
that's good.
it comes to mind. Skateboarding. Man, it's like I don't want to waste them because
Well,
it's like, what about like Lee Ralph?
Well, you're picking, like with Gonzalez, you're picking someone who is, first of all, he's an expat, spends most of his time in France. He's also an artist. He's also a performance artist.
Sure.
He's also shown in museums.
Yeah.
He's also collected. So it's like you pick someone who's very multifaceted with your first choice.
Yeah.
So obviously it would go way beyond skateboard.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think it's very easy as a skateboarder to get connected to a very small identity.
Of course.
And then it's possible to even get a smaller identity because you somehow connect to the board that you're riding. Like, oh,
Yeah,
this is Anti-Hero versus, oh, this is Shake Junt, or versus this is whatever.
Or I skate ledges, I skate curves,
Whatever.
I skate bowls. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, and then there's little subcultures and
Sure,
tribes
sure,
within
sure.
those, you know.
Again, it comes back to, you going to show up or you're not going to show up. Are you going to live your own life or are you going to live somebody else's life?
Yeah.
And as a skateboarder, it's super easy to just freaking jump in a lane and think you're good. You're not good.
Yeah.
You're not fucking good.
I totally agree. You always got to be struggling somehow.
Who's your second person, would you say?
Maybe like Lee Ralph,
Okay.
you know, just because of again, that's kind of like an allure, a cult of, it's hard not to pick like a cult of personality in this instance. It's like, and I only am going to have one left, so who's it going to be?
Why Lee, though? Talk to me about why.
just-
Explain this. Because a lot of kids don't even know
Because
Lee
people
Ralph.
don't, that's what it is. Because I feel like, and I guess there is like a documentary, people aren't aware of, like there's all these, before the internet and the prominence of videos, there's all these people from the 80s that were like influential and did a lot of meaningful shit, particularly in the realms of like vertical skateboarding, and like never got their due because people don't know who Lee Ralph is, maybe, and there's like such a bombastic like story to be told. It's unbelievable that someone like that can exist. You know what I mean?
Tell me this, because you talk about a bombastic story. How much do you see the podcast medium expanding into like, oh shit, we got something that's so big that maybe it's like a documentary?
Oh,
now?
I would love it. Yeah, if it was just like a show, like, you know, it could be like you spend a week and you make a show. That would be, that, you know, who knows what you could do. And I like the idea of like you coming on here with your guitar, or like I feel like I've had some pretty like unique ones, or just like each one's been a little bit unique, and it's like that's like an idea. It's like, oh, you're yeah, we're gonna do this thing and I'm gonna edit it and put it a certain way, but there's this element of music now to it that, like, you know, I never really thought of that before.
Okay, who's third after Lee Ralph? Well, first of all, before that, just give kids a little bit of a trailer into Lee Ralph. What's the thing that made the biggest impression on you, where he got stuck in your heart like a 3-pronged fishing hook?
The way that he, his poetic, like he's a savage, first of all. He's got, you know, he's like in touch with the more aboriginal vibe of Australia, the real raw bush, and you know, the whole 80s vert metal, like beer swilling trip, hell ride, that whole vibe, like Lee Ralph skating barefoot and everything. But then he's also quite a painter. He paints, and he can just sort of like sit there and pontificate in this poetic, like almost savant-like way that you wouldn't really expect, you know, or like it's like you might like that would be like he just doesn't seem like a very abrasive guy for like who his legend is. You know what I mean? I've never met him or whatever, but just seems like an interesting person to talk to and like would be open to presenting their worldview without being like boastful or like ego about it, just being real. And the dude's never mind raw. You're only gonna get raw. It's about as raw as it fucking
Well, and
gets.
you're gonna get one thing. You know, you're not gonna get like a watered down version of some amalgamation of some marketing campaign.
Yeah, like what
You're
are
gonna
my
get one
sponsors
thing.
gonna think about
You're
this?
just gonna get that.
Yeah.
Straight shot.
Yeah.
Okay, who's number 3?
Dude, I don't know. It's just maybe something. Maybe just take a wild ass ride, like. And I got to think about like myself too, like me sitting down and interacting with this person. Like, what would that be? But like a Lenny Kirk would be fucking wild.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, he's someone who operates in like multiple realities.
Precisely.
You know, so you don't even know what channel you're gonna get.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And tuning into that would be like, it would be probably not the most pleasant thing for me to do personally, like for me to go through that experience and try to be like conducted. Dude, you know, I've tried to conduct interviews before with like some like aloof people that are like prominent and well known. It's like, it's hard, you know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. I could go on and on. There's so many good ones. There's so many good ones, you know, and more women, you know, I'd like to see too.
Yeah, totally possible.
You know,
I got a girl, a really close friend of mine, and I'm friends with a lot of different girls in skateboarding, but Jessie Van Rockout is like amazing pro, and has been pro since the like late 90s.
oh, no kidding.
Oh, she'd be awesome. We get her on here.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
Go ahead, I dare you to jump. I dare you to come down.
Yeah, well, do you want to take us out with it too?
All right, let's see what we got. Production quality is the gift of 2020 because everybody was so careful, you know, like 5 years ago HD took over and totally shifted the production game, like, oh, now we need more makeup because you can see everything with high definition.
Yeah.
Now it's like gone the opposite way, back to like real shit.
Yeah.
Now it's like the content matters, not the production.
Yeah.
Anybody can do production.
Sure.
But it takes time to figure it out, man. I think you're just give yourself some patience. Everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah, the thing is I enjoy doing them, and I enjoy editing them, no matter how tedious they are. Yeah, I have a focus with it. I didn't, you know, I never thought I'd get to do one with you, you know?
No, you thought you would.
I mean,
You didn't know.
if it presented itself or whatever, but it was like, I don't know, there's certain people I respect too. It's like I don't want to like just like fucking fan out on people and be like, oh, you want to be on my podcast, you know? But it's like I'm stoked when it happens, like with such good people. So, you know, yeah. Mongochatter 16.
I love it, man.
Ben Roy.
I love your heart.
Thanks, man.